Greetings from Hundredfold Academy, a civil service coaching academy in Shillong for UPSC and MPSC exams. In this special video, it is for the candidates who are preparing for the upcoming state civil service exams. In short, we call it the MCS and MPS. The first step in your planning is to understand the syllabus. So let us deconstruct the syllabus for a better understanding. The syllabus, as you see, is a replica of the UPSC Civil Services. And we can take this as a reference point and break it down to understand how do you approach for our state's civil service. As you're aware that these exams will have prelims, mains, and then your personal interviews. In your prelims, it is a qualifying round for a candidate to be shortlisted for the main exams. Prelims has two papers. Now, when we see in paper one, it carries 200 marks. The current affairs on national and international events is very, very important. We can expect good number of questions on current events. When we talk about national issues, it's the Indian economy news, Indian polity, judiciary, environment, science and technology, about the states, social schemes, sports news, honors, reports committee, and also accidents and calamities. We have to also see the first in India. When we talk about international, we see international summits and events, international awards. We just concluded the Oscar Awards, then the first in the world, international leadership, international reports, international committees and recommendations, the geographical event around the world. That's how you prepare your current events of national and international importance. Now, when it comes to history of India and the Indian national movement, because we know today's current affairs is tomorrow's history. The history of India includes various components. The ancient history. Now, when we talk about the ancient history, we talk about the prehistoric times, the Indus Valley civilization, the Rig Vedic period, the later Vedic period, Jainism, Buddhism, the Mauryan period, post-Mauryan period, Gupta period, the Harshavardhana period, Sangam period, which is the South Indian dynasties. And from there, you need to also cover the medieval history where we talk about the major dynasties of the early medieval India, which is the, Pallavas, the Chalukyas, and so on. Then we also cover the Cholas, the South Indian kingdom, the early Muslim invasions, the Delhi Sultanate, Afghans, Rajputs, and Mughals. We also see the establishment of North Indian Empire, the Mughal Empire, the Marathas, and the other states. We also study the decline of the Mughal Empire, the Vijayanagar Empire. So that's what covers the entire medieval history. Then you also carry and prepare yourselves for modern history and the Indian national movement. You carry the advent of the Europeans, the British expansion, the economic policies of the British, of course, the revolt of the 1857, development of civil services in that era, development of press, peasants, administration before 1857, the impact of the British administration, some of the administrative changes after 1857. Then we see on the development of education, social, religious reforms, revolutionary nationalism. Then we also cover the Indian national movement right from 1905 to 1918. We carry the again the national movement, which again happened on 1918 to 1929, and the third national movement from 1930 till we get independence in 1947. We also cover the governor generals and the viceroys of India. and of course the constitutional development of Indians. So that's what covers the history piece. We also cover a bit on the art and culture, the architecture, the sculpture, the paintings, all right, performing arts, religion and literature, the national and regional festivals. And we cover a little bit on the post independence as well. Now, when it comes to India and world geography, geography is one of the most important parts of the syllabus and can expect higher number of questions as well. So we cater to the principles of physical geography, physical geography of India and the world, human geography, economic geography. Then we also see the detail regarding the Indian physical and political map, the general geography, the universe, the earth evolution, then, of course, the geomorphology, the earth interior, the geology and the rock system, earthquakes, and so on. We also see landforms and the evolution landforms across the world. Then we also cover oceanography, like the hydrosphere, the submarine relief features, temperature and salinity, marine resources. Then we also cover in geography, climatology, like the atmosphere, the air mass, fronts, cyclones, jet streams, and so on. We take care also the climatic zones of the world. Then we also see on biogeography, which is the soil characteristics of vegetation resources, human and economic geography. Then we cater to demography and census, human development, economic activities, transport and communication, international trades, settlements on various places. We focus also on Indian geography, which is the physiogeography of India, the drainage system, the climate, the soils in India, our natural vegetation, population, settlements and urbanization of land resource, mineral resource, energy resource, agriculture, and some basic terminology. Some of the recent development in the field of agriculture we see on productivity of crops, a bit on industry and transport as well. Then we also cater in geography, the world regional geography, the continents, countries, cities, locations in news, ecology and environment, some of the origins of life form, basic concepts of ecology, the ecosystems, how it functions, population ecology, adaptations of species and interactions. Then we see on terrestrial ecosystem, the aquatic ecosystem. Then we see on the biodiversity, animals and plants diversity. The threats that happens to biodiversity as well. We also see some of the coral reefs, the wetlands, the climatic changes, and the environmental governance. So that's quite a vast coverage as far as, when we talk about geography. Then we also see in our syllabus on Indian polity and governance. Sometimes it can be a bit confusing on this particular piece, but it is very important to understand and read the questions slowly and thoroughly, especially when you prepare for your competitive exams. We get quite a number of questions from Indian polity and governance as well. So, what do we cover in Indian polity and governance? We cover the Constitution of India, principle of federalism in India, the meaning of secularism in the Indian parlance, working of the parliaments of India, the functions, the union and state relations, various important acts passed by the Parliament of India, Indian judiciary, principles of good governance, use of the ICT in governance, then our Panchayati Raj, local government issues. Then, of course, we covered to right to information. We also see some of the evolutions of our constitutions, its silent features of the Indian constitutions as well. Union and its territory, our citizenship, of course, we fundamental rights, fundamental duties, the directive principles of state policy, they are very, very important. system of our governance, the union executive, union legislature, state executive, of course, the state legislature, local governance, union territories, and our special areas. We also cover judiciary, constitutional, and non-constitutional bodies as well. In our political dynamics, we also see the political parties, the elections, the pressure groups, uh, and also a bit of the governance and international relations. So that's a bit that we cover as far as Indian polity and governance is concerned in this syllabus for our civil service preparations. Then we also cater to economic and its social development. So when we talk about economics, we'll have to really focus on the Indian economy, update ourselves with all the latest development in the Indian economy. We also understand the macroeconomy of India as well as the micro economy as well. We study the Reserve Bank of India and its functioning, the banking system in India, the industrial development in our country, both pre-independence and post-independence. We also touch base a bit on the capital market in India and some of the social schemes by the government of India. Of course, when we talk about basic economics, we cover both micro and macroeconomics, the national income, inflation, economic growth and development, public finance, budgeting, planning. We also see a bit on trade agreements, international organizations, some of the foreign trade concepts, and a bit on the industrial policy as well. Now we also have in a coverage in the syllabus on general issues on environmental ecology, biodiversity, and climatic changes. That we need to cover a bit on the environment and ecological principles, types of pollutions, impact of pollution, our flora and fauna, some food web, the use of plastics and its impact, Environment Protection Act, and in general science is a bit of everything we cover on technology, a physio system, the human body parts, commercial chemistry, on virus and bacteria. So we study IT and communication, nuclear technology, intellectual property rights, biotechnology. These are some of the areas that we carry and in the syllabus as far as paper one is concerned. Then we also have paper two, which is basically a qualifying paper. The questions will be, of course, of multiple choice objective type. It's very important for us to appear in this paper as well. It's not an option that we can skip this. Uh, Yes, so the first piece would be on comprehension. When we talk on comprehension, it's always good to really strengthen your narration in direct and indirect, your sentence formation. To also just strengthen your common errors, one word substitution. Be strong with your synonyms and antonyms. Understanding various idioms and phrases, analogy, foreign words, and English language comprehension as well. Then we cover on interpersonal skills, which is basically the analogies, critical reasoning. And of course, we also have logical reasoning and analytical ability. There we cover various reasoning pieces, of course, on arrangements, on rankings, on sequences and series, blood relation, direction test, puzzle test. Then we have syllogisms. We can have the entire statement and conclusion statements and assumption statements and arguments. So this is basically what we cover on logical reasoning as we prepare for the exams. Of course, it's important for us also to cover the decision making and problem solving, which is more on hypothetical questions based on ethnical dilemmas. It can also be the decoding facts of logically, how do we answer them. The major piece is also the general mental ability. It's no rocket science, just your basic arithmetic that you've covered, uh, on your basic numbers. In general ability, of course, we've covered on logical reasoning is the general coding, decoding, series, alphabet series. Then you have sitting arrangements, um, time sequence, number sequence, ranking sequence. Then you have your arithmetical reasoning. So that's a bit that you cover in your general mental ability as well. As far as your basic numeracy, as I said, it's your basic school math or arithmetic where you cover your numbers and the relations. Basically, it's just a class 10 level. Nothing to worry if you're not strong with your numbers. You focus on the number system. The number system is very important. Your simplification, then your unit digit, then you have approximations you can cover on HCF and LCM. Then later you can also see on average, ratio and proportion, mixtures, profit and loss, simple interest, time and distance, mensuration. So these are some of the basic things that you can cover in your basic numeracy as well. Something very interesting is your data interpretation. It's not difficult. It's just on your chart, graphs, tables, data sufficiency, and more or less, you got a little bit of arithmetic as far as checking on your average, your percentage are concerned. So that's what you cover on your data interpretation. So that's prelims for you. And once you done with phase one prelims, then you move on to mains. Mains, you'll have part B, which is, you also will have first your paper A in mains, which consists of 300 marks. In the it's a qualifying paper, which means that your marks will not be adding on to the other papers as you sit. So in the qualifying paper, it's going to be your general English, which you're going to cover on comprehension, precis writing, checking on your vocabs and your essay. So this is basically, it's just a basic check on how strong are you as far as your communication in language is concerned. Then you have in this another paper, which is an essay form, and you need to sit on this. You'll get multiple questions on this on various topics where you have to write some lengthy answers. So you need to focus as you prepare for your essay. It's not just the school way of doing, introduction, body, and conclusion. It's not based on that. But then, those topics, they're looking for your creative expression of thoughts. Both there would be, both your abstract ideas as well as your factual knowledge are required. So you require a bit of in-depth knowledge as far as preparing this paper. Then we have paper two, which is general studies in our Indian heritage, our culture, history, and geography of the world and society. I must say that the paper two to paper five is an extension of the preparations you have done for your general studies in your prelims. So when you cover paper two, you cover the entire modern Indian history, the freedom struggle, post independence consolidations, history of the world, silent features of an Indian society, diversity of India. Then you add on more to role of women organizations, population and associated issues on poverty and developmental urbanizations. Then we also cover on social empowerment, some silent features of world physical geography. All this will be covered in this paper. Your importance of geophysical phenomena such as earthquake, tsunami, some volcanic activities, cyclone, etc. So that's a generic preparation on paper two, which will cover your history, geography, and a bit on the society piece as well. Then we cover the paper three, which would be more general studies on governance, constitution, polity, social justice, and international relation. So this also cover 250 marks. So where do you prepare? What do you prepare here? You prepare the Indian constitution, historical unpinning of evolution, the features, the amendments. Then you stress on functions and responsibilities of the unions and the states, some issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure, devolution of power and finances up to the local levels, and the challenges therein. We also prepare on separation of powers between various organ disputes, redressals of mechanisms and institutions, parliament and state legislature on how the structure, the functions, the conduct of business, some powers and privileges, all these are covered in this paper. We also see some of the silent features of the Representations of People's Act. We also see the statutory, regulatory, and various quasi judicial bodies. We cover a lot of welfare schemes by the Center for the States, all in this paper. So that covers basically a bit on what we need to understand on the general awareness for paper 3. Then we also cover paper 4, which is also for 250 marks. In this paper, it's more on the technology piece, on economic development, biodiversity, security, and disaster management. So you got to really dig deep a little bit on the Indian economy, planning, mobilization of resources, growth and development, employment issues. To see how these inclusive growth, the issues of arising that arises from here. We also see a bit on the government budgeting, study on major crops, issues related to subsidies. Public distribution system is very important. Uh, Economics of animal rearing, food processing, and related industries in India. We study the land reforms of India and in India rather. Then we also see some of the infrastructures on energy, ports, roads, airports, railways, etc. As far as science and technology is concerned, we look on the development and the applications and effects in everyday life. Awareness in the field of IT, space, computers, robotics, nanotechnology, biotechnologies, and issues relating to some intellectual property rights. We also cover on conversations, sorry, on conservations rather, environmental pollutions, degradations, environmental impact assessments. When we talk about disaster management, we also see leakages between development and spread of extremism, challenges to eternal security through communication network, the role of media is all covered in this paper, right from social networking sites, internal security, internet security, money laundering, cyber security. All those are covered in this paper. We also have security challenges, managements in border areas, linkages of organized crime and terrorism. So we also cover our various security forces and agencies and their mandates. So that caters to this paper. The last paper, which is very interesting, that we'll be covering, which is mandatory for all of us who's sitting for the MCS and MPS, is on technology. Of course, we've covered that, and then the paper 5 would be more on ethics, integrity, and aptitude. So when we talk and approach how on this paper, many of us will it's something very new. But then we talk on ethics and human interface, public relationship, human values, lessons from lives and teachings of great leaders, reformers, and administrators, role of family, society, our educational institutions that has inculcated values. So we talk on attitude, uh, content structure, functioning, its influence, and relations and thoughts and behavior. We see on moral and political attitudes. social influence and persuasions. We see on some of the foundational values for civil services, integrity. We also work on emotional intelligence, public civil service values, ethics in public administrations, status and problems, law, rules, regulations, mm, you know, probity in governance, concept of public service, some philosophical basis of governance and probity. So mostly it'll be more on code of ethics, code of conduct, citizens charter, work culture, quality of service delivery, utilization of public funds, how challenges of corruptions, and so on. So there would be a lot of case studies on these issues as well. So these are some of the mandatory things that we cover on phase two, which is mains. Then we have paper 6 and 7. Paper 6 and 7 is the optional paper that you have opted. It will consist of 500 marks. You got paper 1 and paper 2. So you have a list of options that you can choose from. It's got almost, I think, for our MCS, we have around about 30 optional subjects that we can opt for. You can opt for the one that you're very comfortable, but some of you who doesn't have your expert your specialized subject in that list of 30, then you can see something that you are comfortable and prepare for the exam. So in that way, this is just an overview. The total marks would be around 2025, where your written is 1750 and your personal would be 275. So once you clear your mains, then you're ready to prepare for your interview test. Or nowadays, we don't even use the word interview; we use the word personality test. So on that note, Hundredfold Academy wishes you a wonderful, and have a good time in preparing for your civil service. There's nothing like hard work, but it's also important that you put in your smart work as well. So you can always stay in touch for more in-depth details with Hundredfold Academy. The numbers are displayed below, and for any further assistance, you can reach us on those numbers. Thank you.